I think this light, turn that light off a second. See if that makes it. I think that's better.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our first coffee night event, which will, we hope, be a fruitful exchange during this time of physical isolation and social distancing. We wanted to make this platform a place of an environment of exchange, friendship, and advanced understanding of what's going on in our environment and in the wider world. So our speaker this evening is Dr. Peter Cohen from Clemson University, where he is a senior lecturer in religion. Dr. Cohen received his PhD from Florida State University in Humanities and Religion, and his MA from Florida State University in Biblical Studies, and his BA in Religion and Philosophy from Springfield College. His dissertation was entitled A Motive in Text of the Angel of Death in Early Rabbinic Literature. Dr. Cohen came to Clemson in 1995 after teaching at Appalachian State University, Florida State University, Florida A&M University, and Tallahassee Community College. His teaching interests revolve around looking around the common traits shared by the religious traditions of the world rather than looking their differences. Dr. Cohen can often be found teaching adult education in area churches on Sunday mornings or as an instructor in the university's Osher Life Long Learning Institute for retired people from the community. Presently, he's teaching the general education courses in the religion for his department. So thank you, Dr. Cohen. And as a ground rule, the participants are muted. You can address your questions by writing them to the chat room. And this event is being done in collaboration with Atlantic Institute. We express our thanks to our partners, and Christina Bell from Atlantic Institute will be moderating our event. Thank you, Christina. Will moderating our event after Dr. Peter Cohen's remarks. So we are looking for a talk by our speaker, followed by a Q&A session. Dr. Cohen, floor is yours.
Okay, because I'm not drinking. But what I'm going to do
I'm afraid we're having a hard time hearing you, Peter Cohen.
having someone get off the computer in the house. I'm sorry about that.
everybody, just take a second to try to help Peter figure out what is up with his connection. He has been able to speak with us via Zoom all week long with no problems. So Peter, we might need you to log out and log back in. We can hear you, but it's a little, it's very staticky. So I'm not quite sure what it was that caused it, but we might need you to log out and then log back in. And while he's doing that, I know most of us are muted, but I hope that everything has been going well for everybody. Atlantic Institute, what we do is we work to build bridges of understanding between people from different faiths and different cultures. We've had to adjust the past month due to the COVID-19 virus. And what we have been doing is different calls with different speakers. And we are very proud to work with the Rumi Forum to do tonight's event. When Peter works out his difficulties, we'll be able to go ahead and listen to him speak. He has been on a lot of our calls for us this past week. We're doing a call every day at 4, just a neighborly check-in call so that people can kind of have a forum or an avenue to speak and tell us how they're doing and tell us what's going on in their life for them. It helps some of us to just kind of get our feelings out and share. A lot of us are being self-isolated and we're by ourselves. We've had a couple of people that are on tonight that have helped moderate some of our calls, and they've done a great job. And let's go ahead and see how he's doing now.
Christina?
You there? Yes, you there?
Okay. Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. It's a little bit glitchy, but you should be good once you get started.
Okay. Wanted to start out with a short story from the last recession we had. I was shopping at computer equipment, and a gentleman came over to me, told me he'd be right with me. And then when he came over, I asked him how he was doing. And he was very much taken aback, almost upset. And I said, "What's wrong?" And I said, I'm really concerned. How are you doing? I know your company is going Chapter 11. And he said, people have been making fun of us. We are going to be out of business. And he thanked me very much for showing real, genuine concern. And I thought of that just recently in a number of different ways, given the current events of what's happening. Quote that's in first Genesis, and then the Talmud, and then in the Quran, about saving a single life is saving humanity. And I thought that showing compassion, showing empathy to a single person, as if you're showing it to the entire humanity as well. And it's very important that we take care of each other, take care of our neighbors, because this is a horrible time of strife for people. And it's very important that we keep every single person in mind. It's been said a number of times that social distancing is not emotional distancing. And people need to remember that. People need to remember their family members. People remember the group of ministers earlier, and one of people lost art culture over the years with respect to that it's very important that we share with one another as much as we possibly can. Another thing that came to mind was the front page of the latest Time magazine article, well, the front page, that has chef, forget his name, Jose Apre. And the title of that particular article is "Without Compassion, Nothing Works." He has been feeding the poor. He has been feeding the indigent. He has been bringing food to sites where there have been natural disasters for many years. And he realizes that unless we have compassion for people who are going through difficult things, that we cannot possibly continue on. And with that in mind, I turned to an article written quite a bit ago by Fethullah Gulen. And he begins by saying, compassion is the beginning of being. Without it, everything is simply chaos. Everything has come into existence through compassion, and by compassion, it continues to exist in harmony. Further down in that article, he goes on to say that man has a responsibility to show compassion to all living things as a requirement of being human. The more one displays compassion, the more exalted one becomes, while the more one resorts to wrongdoing, oppression, and cruelty, the more one is disgraced and humiliated, becoming a shame for all of humanity. So it's incumbent upon each of us to watch out for our fellow human beings at this time of year, especially the fact that this particular time of year we have, and all of these are going to be affected in many different ways. And we've seen some recordings of people's Passover Seders with 1 or 2 people present. We'll see Easter services, hopefully with very few people in each service. And we don't know what's going to happen with the Hajj. I'll be very surprised if it goes as usually planned. And it would be the first time since the 18th century if the Hajj is canceled. So I hope there's some type of virtual Hajj that may take place. The other thing that I was really remembering was something I'm sure many of you have read and many of you have taught from, I know, is Karen Armstrong's 12 Steps to a Compassionate Life. She's laid out a number of steps that have been used by hundreds of thousands of people, and many of them relate 100% to what we're going through today. It begins with number 1, learn about compassion. What a strange thing. And learn about our own world, learn about the people in it. Now is a good time. Ceremonies of different religious communities, different services, and we can take advantage of this to learn more about our neighbors. Further down the list, empathy is listed. We need to put ourselves in the place of other people and also realistically look at our own lives. Looking at the people whose cameras are on right now, it's wonderful to see that there doesn't seem to be anyone that is ill. There doesn't appear to be anyone that is in any major distress with respect to finances, etc. And we need to be thankful for all of these things, each and every one of us. The fact that many of us are still getting a regular paycheck has to be understood. We have to look at other people who are in much difficult straits, much more difficult straits than each of us, and put out our hand to help them. We have people that are forced to take time off, people whose jobs have been lost, millions of them, and it's our responsibility individually to help them, to put out a hand, to bring over some food. Again, social distancing isn't emotional distancing. Very interesting, a week or so ago, that every day he takes his lawn chair out onto his lawn, and his grandchildren come through the woods and they speak back and forth across the lawn. Neighbors are getting to know each other much better than they have in the past. We have to take a look at these things. We have to take whatever piece that will get us to know each other a little bit better. Things. Families are getting closer in some ways. Friends are becoming closer. I found it's more than I have in the past. And though they are a distance away, we've got computers, we've got telephones, we've got things that make this a very much easier way to communicate, even though sometimes the connections aren't wonderful. Like guys for that. We have to understand the situation that we're going through on many levels. There is no need to panic. There is a great need for us to learn what's going on and to appreciate what we need to do as much as possible. We're told by many different sources, different things, and we need to sort out what is truth and where we go forward from here. Again, I apologize for the reception I'm having. I've been teaching 5 courses a day. I don't know what to tell you. But the key here is much the same we found through the Atlantic Institute, through the Rumi Forum, through the, and the one place I might say that some of you know this, separate from it. I believe that we must go one step further from tolerance, and we must go to acceptance. We must learn to deal with people on a one
We should be able to give the lag a second.
one basis. We must learn to listen to what people to do this in our society, in our culture. Okay, I get.
Yeah. Let me see. Did Peter? Oh, Peter's still there. Peter, do you know how to call in with the call-in number and connect that way? I think Keith said he would help you if you want to try that, just so we can fully get the message.
Okay, am I better now?
Yep, that's better now.
Okay.
But still
So
not totally.
right now I need to start my video. What?
Oh, yep. Maybe try no video. We might try no video. That's what one of the suggestions was in here for Mustafa.
Okay.
Maybe that would cut down on the streaming load that you have going. And
Is that any better?
it did for
How
a
is
minute.
that?
Yeah, go ahead. Go with that. Let's try that first before we go to the calling. And we won't know if he froze though. No, Keith, why don't you try to go ahead and call Peter and see if that would help. Thank you. Yeah, let's go ahead and see if we can have him call in and see if that would work better. I know. No. Ibrahim, can you unmute Akif so that he can work on this with Peter?
Yeah, he's unmuted.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm just calling him now. Peter, if you hear me, I'm just calling you, pick the phone. He's not. Peter, can you just pick the phone? I'm calling you so then I can connect you from here. That way we can have a better connection.
Yeah, I know we really would like to get his entire message and then do our questions and answers.
Peter? Okay, I'm gonna connect you here from my phone, okay? You can speak through my phone because it's gonna put in this on the speaker that everybody can hear you from here. Okay. Peter.
Can people?
Yes.
Can people hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, it's better. Go ahead and
Okay.
speak, yes.
I am very sorry for this. But what I've been saying is pretty much in general, we all have a responsibility for each and every one of us, for our neighbors, for our friends, for our family. And now it's a challenge, but it's a challenge we can meet. The horrible death count has gone down. The problems that will be starting soon with the beginning of the economy will be a huge challenge for everyone. And we need to recognize that people are hurting and that we do have the ability to help out. Many of us are in far better situations than many others. When I look at my situation, how I'm living, it amazes me how well I have it. Nothing's perfect, but things are much better than for many other people. Can you still hear me?
Yes, Peter. Everything is great.
Okay.
So people see
Good.
me, but hears you. So then I have to mimic you, okay?
Okay. The one thing I've repeated another number of times is something you've been hearing from other people, is that emotional distancing is not necessary. That we can talk with people, that we can meet people even though we have distancing, that we can help each other as much as we can. And all of us have the ability to do that in our own way. If we give the level of compassion and empathy that we are able to do, it will make life a whole lot easier for everyone that we know. Is Christina ready for questions for me?
Christina, can you unmute your?
Yeah, yes, I'm ready for questions.
Okay.
I have a question earlier that was asked. I was just on it. Hold on one second. One of the questions earlier that was asked was, what can, Chris Ward asked, how can spiritual leaders help the world heal right now, regardless of religion?
Well, I think in many ways, first of all, make themselves available to their congregations and join other religious leaders in services and in appearances where people notice different religious leaders getting along, where they see that they are approachable, so not immediate, but take a step toward the people, not away from the people. You can't have a religious service safely in a same place, but there's no reason why ministers, rabbis, imams, priests can't get together via a good connection on Zoom and let the people know their commonality and that they are struggling and they will help with other people that are struggling.
Very good
That
answer. Yep, that was a very good answer. So we have another question from Stephen. His question is, how do we balance the order to quarantine and stay home with the desire and the responsibility to help those who are hurting?
Well, one way is to limit people to shop for neighbors. I know a number of people, some of my colleagues, are doing shopping for their older neighbors, and realize that this is not forever. That's the key. This is not something to panic about. You have to think of it as an inconvenience. And it's a major inconvenience. There's no question about that. But let's realize this for a couple of minutes. Staying at home, staying in one place, a place that's nearest and dearest to you. Here's a good one. Passover began Wednesday night. Prior to Wednesday night, you're supposed to clean out the house, out of the house, all of the bread products and theoretically sell them to somebody. But it's a type of spring cleaning. Now's the time to do a project at home. Be creative with the time you have at home. Don't think of it as quarantine. Think of it as an opportunity to do something else in a different way.
Can I step in over here to take the liberty of holding the phone for you guys? I can answer this question too. I know I'm hijacking, Peter, to you, but Steve,
okay.
This is a question from Steve. I think what you did to me, Steve, is one of the perfect way to do the balance. I'm a businessman, and Steve, we are friends. He sent me an email about 2 days ago, and he asked me, he said, "You are on my thoughts, and I wonder how's your business going on." I think that was wonderful. Someone is checking on me and seeing how the business is going. Yet we have really also we kind of balance the social distancing, right? We don't get together, we don't have the coffee and conversation physical way, but sending a simple email, I think, is a great way of supporting another individual. So I think that this is Steve, you have already done a great job for that one. I'm sure that you do mean other people to, not only me.
And let people know you care enough to ask goes a very long way in many different instances. That's a very good example.
If I can hijack on that as well, I will say that what we are experiencing this month is something that we haven't experienced in probably 50 or 60 years. With the way that society comes together has been foreign for us. And so the way we are having to relearn how to pick up the phone and call somebody and see how they're doing. And we're having to learn how to connect, through mail. Many kids are getting birthday cards mailed to them from friends that they normally wouldn't have. And people are coming up with a lot of different ways to connect that are being very creative. And so I think we're kind of going back in time somewhat, even though we're visiting each other virtually, picking up the phone and calling or emailing, and it's going back to our direct communication, to help people. We had a couple other questions. If I can just go to the next one.
Let me give one more to that, a positive spin. The pollution rate in many cities has plummeted. We have to recognize that this is our Mother Earth talking to us.
Mm-hmm.
That we need to take a very close look at how we're treating our environment and learn from this as much as anything else.
Yeah, very true. All right. So one of the other questions from that was asked from Mustafa said that he heard that different religious groups, that their attendance has been growing since they're having larger groups online for their services. So he's asking, what do you think that tells you?
That there's larger groups.
Yeah, right. That the attendance seems to be growing for a lot of online services. So what does that tell you with the way we're headed?
I think people are turning inward to themselves and their faith to find support, find answers. And I think for religious leaders to be able to respond to that in kind is very important. We may not be able to, some Christianity exchange, but these have communion or, typically give someone a hug, but in different ways. And I think having people meet in different forums like this is for the people that are gathering here today. So I think it's a positive sign. And if it continues, I think it will be even more positive.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, the other question that we have from Mustafa is, what are the responsibilities of the religious groups in these harsh days that human beings are facing, and how do you think they're doing so far?
Peter, did you hear it?
Not clearly.
Christina, can you repeat it?
Sure. It's, what are the responsibilities of the religious groups in these harsh days that human beings are facing, and how are they doing so far?
Well, the responsibilities are huge. There's no question about it, because we see that there's very little else to turn to sometimes, that people are at the end of their rope. Psychologically, people starting to be react in negative ways, and many religious leaders have a great impact on the health, psychological, spiritual health of their congregants. And I think they should get each of their congregants, much like we're talking about, to be responsible for each, but in a very healthy manner, not harping on the fact that we can't get together in the building now, but what can we do for each other that is positive? Because we only have, this is a limited time. This isn't going to be forever.
Okay, I have a few more questions. I'm just trying to read. How do we, this is a message from Ibrahim. It was, how do we reconcile the calls by public authorities to maintain social distancing with the desire to continue in congregations? Being, how can we make sure that health concerns are not misinterpreted as restrictions on religion?
Well, that's a good question. People culture very often too personally, and they misinterpret things. This is not a call to not believe. This is not a call to be alone. If anything, a call for people to be together more. It's just in a different fashion. And I think what needs to be learned by our government officials is they need to socially distance from each other as well when they're on the same podium, for instance. It's not a good message that they're sending out. They should be 6 feet, 12 feet apart while they're talking. They shouldn't use the same podium. They should be setting an example and telling people that this is for everyone, not just for don't go to religious services, but this is every single aspect of society and not single out religion.
Okay. I have one question I'm going to read. Then I had a hijack onto it, and then I have a share with it, just so you know. So
Okay.
The next question comes from Dory. What is the kindest way to address the death of a loved one when their family members were not able to be there? How do we help them through this? Following up with that question was, what unique things do people of faiths have to offer people in these situations? And my own personal share would be that we had a friend in Florida die last week, and there was no funeral because nobody could get together. So this kind of brings up a very good question of, how do we all handle this?
That's a very good thought. There's nothing right to say when anyone is grieving. And people grieve in different ways as well. The pictures of the trenches being cut on the island outside of New York, it's heartbreaking. Just knowing that someone cares enough to be there, to ask if there's anything that can be done, that can be brought over, left outside the home. Anything that can remind someone, let them know that this person is going to be with them, even though they've passed away. Remember the good things about a person's life. They will always be with you. In Judaism, the afterlife is very often a memory people have of each other. And that doesn't have to be terrible at all. And, let them know that you are thinking of them, that you will do anything in your power to help out, and, keep asking, in subtle ways without making them feel needy, but that you want to help. That's important.
Thank you very much. And I'm out of questions here, unless anybody has another question they'd like to ask. I know that this is I'll add in here that Nikki just made a comment that, one can offer prayers for the departed souls, that not all faiths believe this is something that can help the departed. So I might ask first if that's okay with the family. Probably, calling and making a connection with some people that way might be good in that manner.
Make a contribution as well for someone to a particular can make a big difference.
I have seen articles actually where there are so many people in the hospitals that are passing away and they are by themselves, and so a lot of the nurses and the workers are weighed down with a lot of this grief of everything that they're seeing, that some people in generosity, in remembrance of their loved one, are actually buying 30 pizzas and having them delivered to the hospital to thank the nurses for their work. And I thought that was a very good way, I would think, that would help people heal, to try to give back and thank those that are the first responders that are helping take care of.
Oh, yes. Some of the most incredible things I've seen nurses and other people do is FaceTime their relatives of those dying person, to give them one last moment, to do everything in their power. You talk about empathy and compassion in action. It's amazing what these people are doing to help their fellow person, not just in medicine, but they're putting their life at risk to help them. Plus, they're going the extra step of, even the people that are cheering for the doctors in the street at certain times of the day. One thing we have to realize that after 9/11, immediately after 9/11, every country reached out to the United States in compassion and empathy. Shortly thereafter, that was gone because of actions that our country did in fact take militarily and other. We cannot lose sight of what we're going through right now. We have to make connections, keep the connections, remember what these people are doing. Salute them, thank them, much like I've heard someone say, when you see a vet, thank you for your service. Now we do that to EMS people, firemen, nurses, you name it. Even the people that have to go in and clean out a room in the hospital. They are taking their life into their own hands after someone dies. They have to prepare that room for someone else or that bed for someone else. this, if we can continue on with this feeling about one another, think about what that will do for the mental health and strength of each and every one of us, you know, in the future.
Yes, very good point. All right, it is about 6:50, and I don't think I've had any other questions come in, but I think we were going to be hearing from Akif for a minute.
Okay. Thanks so much, Christina. First of all, I'd like to thank you, Peter. You did a great job. I'm very impressed, and truly it is kind of, to me, it's more spiritual speech that I heard from you. It's kind of healing the souls and the minds, definitely. And you have reminded us a lot of good points. I hope that we will turn with those good points to put in practice and in action. That's what we need, in fact, with small steps. Thank you to Rumi Forum for partnering with Atlantic Institute. Mr. Ibrahim Anli, thanks so much. Thank you, Kubra, for helping to facilitating. Krishna, thank you so much. Wonderful job that you have done. Thank you for all the participants. In fact, like, I know maybe we do not have too many options to do at home, but personally, I feel I'm kind of overwhelmed. I'm kind of busier than the regular time because maybe it's my life, then I have a lot of obligations. I have to follow through different ways. I'm sure that I think now we have kind of in one way more free time, but that free is easily felt if we feel the responsibility against one another. We keep calling, we send emails, we remember each other, we knock the doors. So I think that that's great time to reconnect in deeper way, to kind of remember our humanness and be humble. That's very important. I think that's kind of also this virus brought reminding us how to be a humble human being, to be ready in the service of one another. That is very important. So we are constantly in need of each other. I think in this global age of individualism, the loneliness has been very dramatically increased, but now we all remember that we have to support each other, we have to be together. So this is the positive sides of the epidemic. But I pray sincerely from the bottom of my heart that the epidemic will be gone very soon, and all who are seriously affected will be healed and be well very soon. Once again, thank you so much for everyone who participated to this Zoom joining, and I'm sure that we will get connected, Krishna, through the other programs that we are planning through the Atlantic Institute. Maybe with Rumi Forum again, we will have the joint event like tonight. I'm so excited to be part of the first like virtual gathering. This is first time for me. I think it worked very well for me, and I hope it was the same for you all. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Personally, I'd like to thank everyone, the Rumi Institute, the Rumi Forum, the Atlantic Institute, every single individual, and I hope to pray everyone's health continues. And I said something the other day when we were talking about preparation. The last thing that's said in a Passover Seder is next year in Jerusalem. And I hope that soon we can all meet at better times and celebrate and have something to celebrate as well.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining. Please make sure that you always reach out to people on Zoom. Help your neighbor if they don't know how to use it. Help them with their technology. It's a very good way to keep people connected. All of those that are sitting home by themselves. So, and next week, I believe the Rumi Forum has quite a few different coffee nights planned. Atlantic Institute has plenty of different Zoom events planned as well. We have Easter services all coming up that are going to be streaming online for people all over the place. Ramadan, Passover. a lot of different religious celebrations coming up, and we're all looking for different ways to present them to people, to keep us all connected and to help us not feel like we're isolated and alone. So I'd like to just say thank you, and that would be my closing thought.
Thank you. I think we adjourn now, right? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
We do. Have a great
Okay.
evening. Be healthy. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you. Be healthy.